Before we start the video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. And now, let's go. Story 1. Ever since I was young, I've always looked forward to celebrating my birthday. I would always ask my parents if it was my birthday already when I still didn't know how to read the calendar. My birthdays when I was a toddler made me feel special. It was a day where I get to receive gifts, a plastic crown, and a cake. Growing up, my birthdays became duller. Conflicts between my parents arise, which prevented us from celebrating my birthday. I would only get an apology from them, but it's okay because I understood. That must be the beginning of when I started to not feel like being in the spotlight. I was a role model student who had confidence in myself until I didn't. When I was chosen for a special task for a school occasion, I became someone who would run fast, speak fast, breathe fast, in order to stop people from seeing me, from noticing me, because it felt like I did not deserve to take time and space. I developed anxiety. I became the main lead of a play, but my teacher noticed that I did not take the center when we bowed and took a picture. Slowly, there were manifestations of my core rotting. My subconscious was telling me that I did not deserve anything. Who am I? What was my worth? I do not know. Pandemic came, and there were just simple celebrations at home for 2 to 3 of my birthdays, like having a cake and just eating home-cooked food. My 16th birthday during the pandemic came, and I appreciated it because it had balloons that my mother and sister prepared. After the pandemic, I was lucky enough to celebrate my 18th birthday without masks and all those health-related rules. I really wanted to have a big party, which was a norm in my country. 18th birthdays, aka debuts, involve wearing a gown, meeting a lot of relatives, slow dancing with 18 guys, receiving 18 gifts, and many more. I wanted that. Unfortunately, my mom didn't want to organize a big party like that. Take note, we aren't poor, but we're not rich also. Although I know that people who could not afford a car, my family can afford cars, can still hold those kind of celebrations in the province. I guess it was a matter of priorities. So we opted for an intimate overnight gathering with only us and my friends in an Airbnb we rented with a pool. It was amazing, although I was not able to celebrate with my very close cousins. Moving forward, my 19th was pretty much uneventful. Prior to it, my college friends asked me what I planned for it. I said I didn't know. They suggested a few activities, but I was afraid my parents would not be willing to drive me for those trips. My sister baked a cake for me, and I spent the day in the mall with my close cousins and my mom and sister. Near my 20th, my high school friends planned to go to an amusement park on my birthday. Several weekends before, they had casual gatherings which I was not able to go because I was afraid to ask for permission from my parents to go, as they would have to drive me to another city and wait for my hangout with friends to end. That would be too much trouble for my parents, which is why I did not go. With the same logic, I did not join my high school friends in their plans to go to the amusement park on my birthday. They went without me. I understand their world does not revolve around me, and they can have fun without me. For my 20th birthday, I literally did not have anything planned, but I wanted to be happy. I asked my sister to order a cake from a specific shop where my friends ordered a cake before. They made such cool, customized cakes that tasted delicious. My sister and I also went to an expensive store where she bought me an expensive gift for my birthday days prior to my actual birthday. Then a few days before my actual birthday, I asked my sister if we could go to a beautiful park in another city, 1 HR drive, that needed entrance fees. She said no, because we agreed to hold my birthday just at home after she ordered my cake. The day before my 20th birthday, my mom and I picked up the cake that we ordered, and she said that it was hard to get the cake because we had to stop in the middle of a busy road. Then, she insulted the visuals of the cake, implying that we went through all that trouble for just that ugly cake. Why did you order there? Why couldn't you just order elsewhere? I felt the need to defend myself. I just want a nice cake. It was what I was holding on for happiness. But they made me feel like I really gave them a hard time in order for me to get what I want. On my actual birthday, I asked my sister to take a picture of me with my birthday cake. She said to ask my mom, who was sleeping, because she said she was still getting ready. Why would I put you first before me? I cried because I felt the guilt. My mom didn't want to pick up that cake. My sister didn't want to spend that much money. I felt worthless, unvalued. I am grateful and I appreciate their efforts, but I think they really made it a point to show it to my face that I caused trouble for them. When I explained to them how I felt, they said I ruined the day. I was only thinking of my feelings. I didn't think about how they would feel. My dad said I shouldn't have expected anything, so I wouldn't be disappointed. All my life, I've witnessed my family take celebrations so lightly, as if a birthday was just cake day. But I wanted to feel special. I at least wanted a cake that was not the same with a lot of people. I wanted a cake that I could say was made for me, a cake that showed details about what I like. At some point, I thought I was a materialistic person. Maybe I'm the problem. I like gifts from my high school friends, but what I love about these gifts is the thought that comes along with it. I appreciated the sweet letter attached to it and the way it was wrapped. My high school friends have been a blessing to me. I feel touched when they choose presents that tells me they remembered I love a particular color or animal or hobby. My family never viewed gifts that way. They only thought of gifting me nice shoes, nice toys, and etc. I appreciate those as well, but I guess what truly made me happy were my friends. The fact that my friends took the time to listen to me, they know what looks pretty in my eyes, they know what childish stuffs would make me jump and get me excited. My family has expressed that I am hard to please, though my friends have told me that they really enjoy giving me gifts as they know exactly what would make me happy, and for that I really am grateful for them. I realized when I chose my family over my friends on my birthday, I chose the wrong people to hang out with. I love my family. They bring me comfort, but they do not see me. Now, I learned to choose what makes me truly happy. Choose the right people for the right time. The end. P.S. You might be wondering why I just didn't drive myself. How I wish I could. My parents do not want to teach me how to drive, probably to avoid accidents. But it's like clipping off a bird's wings to prevent them from falling from high places, right? It's not just driving. I was also not taught to swim, so I don't go into the water and drown. Ironically, if water comes to me, I'll drown. It has happened several times. Eventually, nothing is going to prevent me from growing. Not being able to swim is a disadvantage that I would most probably carry for my entire life. For driving, how do they expect to be transported from one place to another once they reach an old age? Sooner or later, I'm going to have to learn how to drive to get to places. They're only making it more difficult for me to actually learn driving with someone else when the time comes that they can't teach me anymore. There are many other aspects in my life that they have done the same exact thing, which is disabling me. I hope more people get enlightened by this issue. I genuinely hope my story helps parents to understand their children better. You who's reading this, I'm truly glad you read it. Story 2. I'm 19, my now ex is 26 years old. We've been together for 9 months, long distance. Sometimes we meet at his place or at conventions. We started a relationship very quickly. I got a lot of declarations of love even before we saw each other. The first I love you after 10 days of texting. We had a lot of crises. I can't even count how many times we broke up. First breakups were on my side because I felt that our characters were different, but he always convinced me to come back. That's how I got attached. The longer it lasted, the less I wanted to break up. I cared and loved him, but he stopped seeing our separate approaches to things, and many times I was forced to talk because he would break up with me. I have a problem with talking right away. Bad emotions burden me too much, and I can only explain the subject after some time. He is very, very emotional, worries, needs to explain right away. So, we went to the biggest in my country and the most important for me 3-day fantasy convention that I had been waiting for all year. The first day was like a dream. We had a matching cosplay. Late in the evening, when we were going home, I admitted directly that I was super tired and super pissed over nothing. Just being weary, said he didn't do anything wrong. I apologized in advance for my behavior and for anything I might say in a rude tone. He accepted it. The next day, I had an uncomfortable costume, wig rashes, skinned feet, lack of sleep, just before my period, etc., etc. Simply not in the best mood. We hugged. It was still okay until we were standing in full sun. My costume started to fall apart, and he started explaining something. I said in a raised voice to stop explaining and just help me. BC, I couldn't do anything about the thing he's talking about anyway, and I wanted to go. A short while later, my mood passed. I asked some questions. I wanted to take him for breakfast. I got back in good mood, but he was already silent. He only mumbled something in response. He wasn't willing to talk. When I wanted to talk, he said, "Not now." Mood completely ruined. I tried to keep taking him by the hand and enjoying the convention. At one point, I had to meet with others. Then he asked if he could go, and I said yes, because I thought he was going to other attractions / to see his friends. When it ended, I texted him how he's doing. It used to be better. But okay. Yesterday I said I had an appointment for pictures with a friend, so I went. I wanted to text him when I finished. But in the meantime, he tried to reach out to me, saying why the pictures were more important now, that he felt horrible, that I was ignoring him, what he had done wrong. I wrote back after the session where I was, asking him to come, but it turned out he went to our tent 2 hours ago. We talked on the phone for a while, and I tried to comfort him, assure him that nothing had happened and that he had done nothing wrong. I am sorry for my behavior in the morning, that I did not know he had come home, that I am waiting for him here. How can I help you, and what should I do? No specific answers, just crying and sobbing. I try to keep apologizing and asking, but nothing, crying. And indeed, at that moment I could have given up on the event and gone there, but from what I know of him, I know that he needs a lot of time, and it wouldn't get better right away. So maybe I could help a little bit, but not completely. We talked on the phone for a while, but again without any specifics. He hung up after a while. He started writing tons of text that I couldn't spare him even a moment to talk, that he had visceral thoughts. Why am I giving him any illusions? We were supposed to talk when I got back. I got back late at night. He didn't want to talk at all then. On the last day, we sat down to talk, but there were no questions or dialogue, only accusations of how badly I treat him, that I left him to do nothing but cry for 10 hours, that I ruined everything with my behavior, that I get angry at him, that this has been going on for 2 days and how long can he tolerate it? And because of me, he didn't meet his friends or did anything. And I say that it's a new day and he can go today. I encourage him to go, that I'll bring him breakfast or something. It might be better, but no, he doesn't want to. I finished my makeup and I wanted to leave. He said he'll go home. So I think he doesn't want to go to the convention, and sitting here another day is pointless. So this is the only way out. He corrected that if he goes, he won't come back, and that will be the end of everything. I was so tired of these few days, sleepless nights, this whole difficult situation that I gave up. I lost my nerves and told him to go and break up. I didn't want to break up. It's just that how many times he broke up with me when he felt worse, I expected that he would break up with me in a few days anyway. That the situation is already so weak that he will do it himself in the near future. That everything will repeat itself, and really, I am already so helpless. I regret doing it so quickly. I broke up and turned away. I didn't answer any more calls. I know that I treated him terribly then, and he didn't deserve something like that. I wrote to him a few days later with an apology, explanation, and remorse. But he says that I am F-vecked up, that I should get medical treatment, that it is terrible, and if I really care about him, I should leave him alone. I care, so I did. We haven't been in touch for 3 days. But I miss him. I love him as a person. I just didn't take this situation seriously because for me it came out of a trivial reason that I wouldn't care about. That's the difference in our characters. I feel like I'm an asshole because I considered the cause of the problem too minor, and I stood my ground by staying at the convention I had been waiting for so long. Because his word about breaking up triggered me, and after hearing it, I felt so helpless. Getting back into the relationship is probably not a good option, but I miss him so much and I don't know what to do. Should I write to him? Go to a psychologist? Am I really such a bad person? Story 3. Hey, I need some advice. English is not my first language, so please bear with me. To start, I want to mention I lost my ability smell like 5 years ago, if it's the right word for it. And yes, it was because COVID. I actually made peace with it. So I, 18F, recently go out with my friends AF, GM, EF, and RF, same age as me. The place we went was in a field of flowers, and there were a lot of lavender. Now lavender was, and still is, my favorite flower. So I was just feeling a bit down. I wanted to smell it again so bad. And yes, I know it might sound dramatic, but I got a bit teary-eyed. I excused myself and went to toilet before they saw me like that. As I said, I made peace with it, but it was my first time seeing too many flowers like that after I lost my ability to smell. When I come back, to table my friends were silent. I thought they were just relaxing in this beautiful place. When our coffee came, I tried to make small talks, but G interrupted me by saying, "You ruined everything." I was a bit shocked and asked him what was his problem. I don't remember the exact words he said, but to cut it short, he told me I always have sad face and tear for everything like a cringe, and a pick-me girl. I told him that I really don't have any energy to fight him over this subject, but to my surprise, A and R also joined him, saying things like, "Yeah, we got you a problem with smelling, but aren't you making it too big problem?" After that thing said, I just got up and went to field to cool down. He followed me and told me they had enough of me asking them how things smell. This whole time I cried and asked her if I was really making too much fuss about it, and she just nodded. After that, I turned back and left. They didn't text me, but he did and apologized for things she said to me, and apparently she said when I went to bathroom, G talked behind my back and said things like she couldn't even stand for 5 minutes before crying. He also told me that they felt disturbed when I asked them if a perfume I bought new smelled good or when I asked if I smell bad. She said she loves me as a company, but she can't see me as one of her besties and left it like that. Now, to be clear, I was insecure about my smell after I lost my ability to smell. These people were my friends from elementary school. I really thought them as my best friends. When I didn't went out after COVID, like 2 years, they were here to help me. When I became too overweight, they were the one who helped me getting in diet and gym. I don't know what changed, like they weren't so shy when they told me overweight, but suddenly they're bothered by me asking if I smelt bad or a perfume smells good. After I talked with E, like a week later with no words, our mutual friend K, F, wrote me. She is G's girlfriend. She told me recently they went on a double date with K, G, and A, with match for. It was showing some prom photos we took in per month earlier, and A's match asked who I was, and as she said, A answered with, "Oh, she is the fat and sad one." K told me she tried to change to subject and just wanted me to learn what she said behind my back. I'm really sad by this. When he asked me about the boy she liked, I was honest with her and told her I don't know the guy, or when her came out I supported her. I have never said anything to their love life. I have never been lover with someone, so I thought they didn't saw me like that fat girlfriend who thinks she can control others. They always told me I had sad face. I really didn't understand it, but now I think they meant how I look or my behavior. I really don't know the problem. I don't want to cut them off. They're my only close friends, even though they don't see me like that. We were really close before. I know people can change, but it was all of a sudden. If you guys ask me if I cry when we go out, my answer is yes. I used to cry every time we went out because of my lost ability. Yes, I accept I cried like 2 years, but I changed. These past 3 years, I only cried things weren't related to my lost ability. And it wasn't constant at all. I don't know the problem. So after I talked with Kay, I was anxious and texted them if everything was good. And they talked like nothing happened. I tried to talk about the issue, but they acted like these incidents never happened. And I asked them directly if I was being dramatic to them. I believe G had enough and texted why I can't get over things and why I'm always sad. I asked him what he meant, and he told me I always look sad and be sad. Everything round around me, I asked him if I did something wrong. And why is he acting like this? He just wrote. I translated it. Up, we love you, but you look sad and always cringe like when you cried seeing a field of flowers or when you cried because you couldn't select perfumes. We can understand your pain, but you're narcissistic. You always try to look better. Like when I said I wanted a home with garden and you said you worked for a month in florist and it would be great. Things don't round around you. Every conversation we have turns into how you did things better in past, but now you are useless in your word. If you want to count this friendship, please get help from professional. You are undiagnosed narcissist, we believe, so please get checked out. After he wrote this, I asked others in group if this was their shared opinion, as they didn't say anything to this message. He wrote she joins half, but she said I look sad. After others in group agreed, I just left the group. I may understand why they think I'm narcissistic, and I'm working on it, but why always sad? I mean, like, yes, someone can act narcissistic, and you can say it to their faces, but what is being called sad face? As if I cry always. I agree I did, but come on, it was 3 years ago. I'm trying to change, and like I said, I only cried in specific things, and it wasn't always. I really need advice here. To let you guys understand why they think I'm narcissistic is because of few incidents, and I know I was wrong as my sister also said it. But let me give an example of one. Another. Our mutual friend liked a boy, and I learned from one of his friends he also liked her. I talked with him behind her back, asked him if he liked her, and he said he did, and I told him she also liked him. They actually started dating, but I heard she saying behind my back she wished she herself said this to him, as she also knew he liked her back. So yeah, I was being asshole here, but it was only incident about love. Other incident is it was ES birthday and we planned surprise party. She wasn't home and her mom take us and we waited and she entered a home. I was holding the cake and K are blow confetti. When confetti blow, I screamed so loud it was really embarrassing, but they blowed it near my ear. I'm not hearing everyday blow of confetti, so yeah, I try to justify, but I thought we passed this. Story 4. Hey Reddit, using a throwaway account so this doesn't get tracked back to me or something. I'm currently having a problem with my mother and am unsure of what to do, so I am reaching out to get a more unbiased perspective. It's going to be long, so if you make it to the end, thank you. I value everyone's opinion and ask that you please comment so I can figure this all out. Because my mind is so mixed up, I don't know what to do anymore and want to give as much context as possible. Currently, my mother is threatening to destroy my things in 48 hours if I don't come get them from her home. This all happened after we had a disagreement over an outfit I wore while I was on vacation. For further context, I'm a 20-ish-year-old female. A couple years ago, I made some international friends with whom I share an incredibly close bond with. I visited their household after confirming they weren't of any harm to me, and have grown to like the culture, though it's rather foreign to me, and while some things still make me uncomfortable yet, after visiting twice, I am adjusting and thinking of moving there. Regardless, my mother, who is about 40 years old, means the world to me. I've spent a lot of my younger years valuing her opinion a lot, and given that she has an incredibly severe mental illness, I've always tried my best to help her given that she's gone through what I can only describe as living hell on earth. I'm often grateful to just be alive and exist most days. I shared a lot of my personal life with her, and most of my younger years were spent trying to make her happy and make up for what other people had done to her, because I believe she needed someone to love and depend on finally, and she wanted me to succeed and live a better life than she had lived. Even while growing up, we faced some hardships together regarding my biological father, of whom I no longer have contact with due to his emotional abuse towards me. Either way, she was, and still is, someone I love and value a lot. As for the foreign friends, they are European. I won't disclose where, but over the 5 years I've gotten to know what was originally a male friend and a soon-to-be wife. We talk almost daily, and while visiting the both of them, they are very openly affectionate people. And I am unsure if this is a red flag of some kind, since I was taught to be extremely careful of who to let touch or hold me. I don't actually mind it. It's nice, and they've never put a hand on me they didn't ask to be placed there beforehand, but I'm wary and want to believe good intentions, but I'm also scared I'm doing something wrong. I brought these concerns up with them, and they've both been very good about communication. They're my friends, first and foremost, and I've said as such and they've said as such, but I still feel weird about it sometimes. To get to the main story, I decided to go on a 2-week vacation to my foreign friend's house for the second time in about a 5-year span. I had a really good time with them. Some activities which included nature hikes, a local fair, and going to local flea markets, as well as some restaurants which were really enjoyable. During said vacation, we decided to do some dress up. They turned me into a goth for approximately an hour, and we did a photo shoot. I'm not used to makeup of that variety, and thought it might be fun to try out. I enjoyed the look and decided to post the pictures on Facebook while I was away, and while I had a lot of people react kindly, my mother did not. She told me I shouldn't show off in such a way and that people could see my boobs. I had a pink under corset on. I was disheartened by that, and my friends had told me that was incredibly rude of her to have done, and I'm used to them being very direct and honest with me. I decided to not acknowledge the comment at all from her and just interacted with the positive ones. This did not go over well, and she sent me a private message a day later about me being a whore and slut. I spent the night crying in my friends' arms while they held me. I again decided to not engage and just enjoy the rest of my vacation. I try to steer clear of her negative message entirely, which is an act I usually don't do, as I normally try to pacify her or keep her happy. I didn't this time, and when I got home, I had hoped the entire thing had blown over or that my mother had forgotten what had happened, something that often happens with the illness she has, and enjoyed a dinner with the whole family as I gave them my gifts I bought them for the trip. Everything seemed normal, but about a day later, she sent me a message saying that I was behaving awfully towards her and that she is done with me. She said she knows my friends have mocked her in some way, and the male friend is a drunk narcissist, and that they are manipulating me into wanting to be over there. I don't know where she ever got that idea aside from the one time her and the male friend interacted, and they had very strong differing opinions, which caused her to not like him. The night she sent that message to me, I finally decided to bare my heart out to her honestly and as respectfully as I could. I've copied and pasted the message below start of message. I'd much rather just talk this out. If you want to, yet I'd be willing to go to your therapist's name with you. But if you want my full honesty, I've spent so long trying my hardest to impress you and care for you when I could when I was younger. I spent so long thinking that I had to live my life the way that you wanted me to because I know how much life hurt you. And it always felt like it was never enough, like I wasn't ever going to be enough for you. I spent so long trying to curate and make myself around you, your opinions, your life experiences, and try to make up for the people that hurt you in life. Because you sacrificed a lot for me, and I understand that, and I respect and love you so much for it. But by doing that, I've lost so much of myself. Realistically, I'm my age and still trying to figure out who and that isn't centered around that idea that I have to make up for the mistakes and pain that other people inflicted on you. That's just how I see it from my mind, and I understand if your perspective is different. As for some of the recent happenings, I just didn't appreciate what you had to say about what I was wearing. It was an outfit and no little more than a costume. I avoided directly speaking on it with you because I wanted to avoid an argument. I love you, Mom. I do a lot, but I just can't deny that our current relationship and dilemma just isn't the most healthy thing. I've just been realizing lately that I've spent most of my whole life saying yes to a lot of things not because I wanted to do them, but because it made everyone else happy and it kept the peace. And that's not normal, Mom. I can't keep doing that. I just can't keep that facade anymore, and I'm sorry in a message. I'm unsure if this was a bad move on my part. I didn't ever want to hurt her. I love her a lot, but my friends have been saying that I don't deserve the way she's been treating me. And I'm unsure if what they're saying is right or if my saying what I did was the right thing to do. Am I being manipulated on one end or the other? I just don't know. Was it an asshole move telling her that? She then went on to remind me of the things she's done for me in life, including a $10,000 custody bill, and that she fought for me and cared for me, and was unsure as to why I was treating her this way after everything. Regardless, the message caused her to spiral. She's been openly aggressive, and I've been trying my best to get around that, and offered to again go with her to her usual therapy appointments to talk it out in a more mediated environment and find out what's causing it. But she messaged me again, this time saying that I have 48 hours to get my things from their attic, or she's going to destroy it all. All of this spiraled from wearing an outfit and my friends not having a high opinion of her. Again, Reddit. I don't know if I did something wrong. Is she right? Have I been as asshole to her by doing these things? I want her in my life, but I don't know if this is salvageable. Story 5. Long post warning. TDLR. AITAH for wanting to divorce unsupporting husband and move to another country with minor children after little financial support. My 42F husband 46M and I have been together for over 20 years and married for 14. At this point, I feel like my only option is divorce. Our relationship has never been dreamy. We got together young, in more of a friends with benefit situation. He ended up moving in with me because his mom was evicted from her house and he had nowhere else to go. At that time, I looked at it as him choosing to move in with me because he wanted to be with me. Stupid, I know. Fast forward many months later, and I got pregnant with our first child. I was unable to work at around 6 months pregnant, and I was the main source of income at the time. He worked very little at temp agency factory positions, so it was not enough to sustain us. I ended up having to move in with my mother, which could be a whole other story. I had not lived with my mother since around 9 years old and was raised primarily by my grandparents. I felt betrayed because he knew how I felt about my mother and having to live with her. I thought he should have worked harder to get a better job so we could have remained in the rent house we were living in, especially since I was now carrying his child. I should have left then and actually ended up breaking up with him when our child was around 6 months old. I met another guy. At this point, I was around 21/22. He was nothing like my husband at first and was very loving and caring, so I thought. He begged me to have a baby with him, and my young and dumb self thought that was a good idea. I would have a chance at a do-over of sorts. It did not take long for me to get pregnant. He completely changed. He went from being very doting and caring to accusing me of being with any and every man. It was ridiculous, and I knew I could not keep dealing with him and his accusations. My pregnancy was very hard, and I ended up being admitted to the hospital until I gave birth. It was in the hospital for about a month, and my husband started coming around. He was there for the birth of my second child. We moved back in together about 6 months after. We were both working, and life seemed to be going good. Well, it wasn't too long, and he stopped working. He would do odd jobs and sell things to make a few dollars, but nothing steady or reliable. I started going back to school and ended up finishing college with 2 degrees, all while working with 2 small kids. I got a job in healthcare once I finished school, and in 2011 we got pregnant again. At this time we were still renting and living in an apartment. We needed more space for the new baby, and I thought it would be a good idea to buy a house. We also got married that year. He wanted to get married after the birth of my second child, but I was very reluctant. I was again pregnant and decided I did not want to keep having children unmarried. We get married in August of 2011. I bought the house in February 2012 and had baby number 3 2 weeks later. Yes, I bought the house. He did not contribute 1 red cent to our household, and at that point I decided since he was not going to work, he could take care of the baby. So I could. One thing I will say is he is very handy. He does know how to do things, it's just he chooses not to. When we bought the house, he proceeded to make upgrades and changes I wanted. Although I knew this financial situation was not ideal, it was working at the time. After baby number 3, I did not want to have any more children. I knew he would never help me in the ways I needed most, so I did not want to take the chance of getting pregnant again. I had a sterilization procedure done and thought all was good. 6 months later, I am pregnant again. Decided to keep and have baby number 4. Postpartum was so bad after. I had suicidal ideations and felt I was spiraling into a dark hole. My grandfather passed away soon after, which made everything worse. My grandparents raised me, and he was the only father figure I knew or had. We continued on with life. I worked, and he stayed at home with the kids. He never cooked or cleaned, and only did the bare minimum of feeding and making sure they didn't hurt themselves. As soon as I would come home from work, he would video game or work on personal projects. I had convinced myself this was a good marriage because I was never cheated on, and he does love our children. I talked to him about helping to contribute financially and explained how much better life could be with another income. He did go to work and worked that job for about 2 years. When he quit working, he vowed to continue to earn income and started an eBay business and other side jobs. It seemed okay for a while, but he doesn't manage money well and would always spend the profits before taking care of business expenses. It would then fall on me to help him pick up where he lacked. As time went on, I realized he was just reverting back to his old ways of laying around, not doing anything. Still dumb in my fantasy of wanting to have a family and a husband, I have the bright idea for us to sell everything and move to another country. Since he's not going to be financially supportive, I felt the need to give myself a cushion. Sell the house and property, which is quite a bit of equity, enough to buy something outright and have more financial freedom. I had no idea he would be so against it. I honestly never even thought he would be opposed at all. He reluctantly agreed to visit the other country, and I incorrectly assumed he would be on board once we come back home. He seemed to be while we were there, but once we returned home, he was even more opposed to the idea. This happened in early summer 2024, and soon after our oldest child was in a very bad car accident, and we all spent the entire summer at the hospital and in rehab. In fall of 2024, I quit my 15-year career for a remote job. Unfortunately, I was laid off several months after starting and was unemployed for the first time in 20 years. I told husband he will have to get a job. He has the bright idea to take what money we did have and purchase a car hauling trailer. Another thing to mention, he watches a lot of these content creators on YouTube that make it look like you can make tons of money with very little effort. I am still unemployed, and the money he earns from this newest business venture is usually less than my weekly benefits. I have decided I just need a divorce. When I do divorce or separate, I'm worried he'll try to fight for everything. I know he will try to get as much money as he can from the sale of the house. I would have sold the house already, but the state I live in requires spouse signature regardless of who purchased. I'm actively looking for work and will not pursue divorce until I have at least some sort of income/stability. He has already told me I cannot take the 2 younger kids with me to another country. The oldest 2 kids are grown now. From what I have read online, a judge could possibly force it. I have not talked to an attorney yet, and in my wildest fantasy, we could settle uncontested. TDLR. AITAH for wanting to divorce unsupporting husband and move to another country with minor children after little financial support. Story 6. I'm 23F and he's 27. We've been in a not so great relationship for years. I'd say the only time he wasn't abusive was the first 6 months. We moved pretty fast in our relationship. He was single for about 5 years, I think, and I was fresh out of my first real relationship from high school when we got together. Fast forward, we moved in together and everything went to shit. He was the type to scream and scream at me for hours and hours whether or not I said anything. I would sob so hard and have the worst panic attacks I've ever had during those times. I became so afraid of getting into the car with him because he'd often lock me in there to scream at me about any and everything, even if it had nothing to do with me. He locked me in or threatened to kick me out in the middle of the road or wherever we were. I was walking on eggshells for years, never knowing what would set him off. Every day doing everything: cleaning, cooking, laundry, money managing, apartment finding, packing for moves, all while working and often working the same place, same hours, same labor as him. Doing all those things was to ensure he had nothing to worry about, nothing to yell at me for. Happened anyways. He would do it in front of family and friends, not often, maybe a couple times. I was scared of him. He'd get in my face, slam doors, break things. In our last apartment, he even broke through the bedroom door that I had locked myself in since he was screaming at me, and I felt unsafe. What ended, it was when he had me locked in the car for nearly 3 hours yelling at me. We returned home. He was still fighting. I was crying, and he wanted to leave. I wanted to get inside my apartment, which he had a key to. I didn't bring mine because I thought we were just going to be taking a quick trip for some dinner. Asked him for the key. He refused until he threw on the floor, then proceeded to yell at me to pick it up. And what is wrong with me? I picked it up, yelled at him that he was the one. That threw it, then got out the car and slammed the door. As I was walking to the apartment, he gets out and starts screaming about damaging his car. I didn't. And starts pushing me around in the parking lot of our shared apartment. After all that, I'm inside, having a panic attack, calling my friend and sister to come over as I'm scared of when he'll return. I call his mom and tell her everything that's happened the last 4 years. Fast forward, we move states. I move in with my mom, and he moves in with his dad. We're 14 driving hours apart. This happened almost a year ago. I grew so dependent on him, I felt like I couldn't breathe when we weren't together anymore, except that only lasted a weekish. We kept texting after that week. And after he had took everything and left, we are still currently in our relationship. And for a long time after I came down from the whirlwind of emotions, I realized I no longer want to try. We made all these agreements that he must meet in order for us to be together. And although he's followed through with some things, I still don't want to do this with him anymore. The feelings of truly being done are kind of recent, like the last few months it's been settled in my mind. I just feel like the asshole because I kept giving him hope and time, and I do believe he can be better for himself and eventually a new partner. Just now being long distance for so long, and especially because of the reason we're long distance, I just can't go back to that. It makes me feel sick. He hasn't picked fights since we've been apart, but it's only a month away until I move back to my home state, and I feel as though I need to break the news or even propose a break before I leave or when I get there. We had plans to live together again soon after I moved back when I gathered the money and found an apartment, but truthfully, I just want to be alone. Finally, I've lived with people my whole life, and I just want to feel safe and alone and not have to maintain anyone but myself. I let myself go so badly. I want to regain myself. I feel like the asshole because I feel like I'll blindside him after talking about our future together so much during this long distance phase. Not to mention, I'm making very little money out where I am, and I've fought and try to find more than just a part-time job paying 15 where I barely make 20 hours at. This area is just small and no one's hiring. He has a good job, makes a good amount. Without his help, I wouldn't be moving back home in a month. I don't want to be the asshole and use his money to move, then be like, BTW, we're broken up now. My friends say that's the least of what he owes me, as it's his fault I ended up out here, but it feels disgusting to do. I'd stay and save my own money, but at this rate, I'd be stuck here forever, which isn't the best living conditions either. I just want to go home. I still love him, and I know I've been an amazingly good person to him. I don't wish negativity towards him. I just spent my time and energy. What's done is done, and I can't forgive or forget those actions. Not to mention, he also cheated on me twice with his booty call he was intertwined with during his 5-year single phase. I sound like a lunatic for being with this dude. Still, I know I'm just a gentle person. I guess I always wanted to see the better side of him, which I still do. It's just very crazy being in my head. How do I confront him about this? He's flying out to visit me in a couple weeks. Do I do it then? Or I'm so anxious I could vomit. I hate thinking about this stupid situation I've put myself in. I've never broke up with someone. Story 7. It were to even start, but this has been destroying my sanity and daily life for weeks now. My BF admitted he does not know whether his reactions/acts, which he calls jokes, hurt me or make me uncomfortable unless I say so explicitly. Usually, when I do not like something, I unfortunately go silent and endure through it. It is wrong, I know. So he said, if you do not show me you don't like it, I think you are okay with it. The thing is, this tactic has been used on me with love biting first. Don't get me wrong. Firstly, I liked it and consented to it. However, when I realized I need to cover up in summer because people could see it wrong, or when my sister saw my entire arm being bitten with 5 bites in a row, she got concerned. I mentioned it to my boyfriend, and he respected it only after my sister saw it, because he said he never wants to be seen in a bad light or, God forbid, as an abuser, and he will stop. This has been a year ago. He does it rarely now on my arms, but he never stopped to bite my ass before we were intimate or grab it so hard I squirm. He knows it hurts me, and I literally even show pain, and I move with my body, yet he does it anyway, because again, I'm not saying explicitly to stop, I just lightly scream from pain instead. Last time we met, we are LDR. He bit me again, and this time on my face, again during intimacy. It hurt so much I could not even process the act. I endured, and once it was over, it was too late for me to say stop, and I got bruised. I bruise easily, and he knows this well. Basically, in few hours after I had purple bruises/spots on my mouth area and one on a cheek. His reaction was, what will my parents say, and that he hopes I will tell them he is not abusing me, and said sorry on many accounts, showing remorse. Even offered to go buy me makeup to cover it up and called them hickeys. It was at least embarrassing walking on a street BC. Not even makeup could cover those bite bruises. They were small but obvious to a public eye. His reckless behavior like this can be observable on many occasions throughout our relationship. And at this point, I am getting framed like that emotionally unstable and that I have problem with everything, and I bring up any hurt and do a bigger deal out of it that is necessary. And he starts to find it exhausting. Other examples. We were having a pillow fight. I was on a bed and we were having a good time. Then it got a little more intense from what I felt. And as I was on a bed lying on my back, he started hitting me progressively but harder to my face with the pillow. I had to scream, "Stop, I am scared." And he immediately stopped. He apologized, but did not make a big deal out of it. He also tested my limits in different ways, such as carrying me to a balcony, high floor, with me being upside down on his shoulders and rotating there with me after an argument which he saw as solved, but it was not for me, and I was still tense and on edge. Many times he said that this balcony incident is useless for him to talk about anymore, because he does not believe it happened the way I am saying, and it happened a month ago. He does not remember details, but he thinks I am coloring it in a RLY bad light against him. He understands why I felt the danger, but he says it is disrespectful for me to question his intentions and abilities, and that they could have been malicious towards me. He said he is not a psycho, and he does not understand why, from all people, I am the one saying such vile things about him, like me having a thought for a split second that he wants to throw me out of the balcony. He says he would never even think about that, and I am on edge about anything he does. Another is that after an intimate time, he once took my phone and took a picture of me in vulnerable pose, slapped my ass, and put the phone down and went to shower. When I asked him why did he go straight to shower and not want to cuddle like normally, he said he does not need it and he sees aftercare in showering more. Now, when we cuddle after, it just feels fake to me, like any other things. When we talk or argue or whatever it is, He has some great qualities which make me double question myself and ask whether I'm not too sensitive and intolerant and should take more for the sake of love and trust him. He does many things amazingly. He shows care in me and knows me and what I like. He always says he will do everything to adjust himself and put it into a list of things he needs to check to make me happy. He does not need me to do so much because most of the times he says he doesn't need stuff like I do to be happy with me. He pretty much wants almost what I would call in my love book a bare minimum to function well and without a hassle. My question raises, Ada, for starting to feel exhausted with this rationale he is putting on me, am I really lacking emotional regulation to the point I see things too sensitive? I don't want to always be the one having to tell him something is wrong between us. Something has literally hurt me or borderline traumatized me for him to notice it, and then get back that now he knows. He will adjust, but I put the mood down again when we don't need it in our relationship. I truly hate framing him this way. He is a good person, I believe, but these moments make me lose sleep at night as I cannot put it into equation. Why would he do them if he says he loves me so much daily? Story 8. Okay, so to start off, I never saw myself as the jealous type. I feel like I trust my fiancé enough to know he'd do right by me and leave before he would ever cheat on me. Lately, because of the stress of wedding planning, we haven't made much time for each other, but other than that I wasn't aware that anything was wrong with our relationship. Everything seemed okay. Recently, though, my fiancé has been complaining about work and how unhappy he is, and I offer him some advice and that he should apply to a different department. He was combative, saying he doesn't have the qualifications, doesn't want to be rejected, etc., etc. I find out that he's been talking to someone in a different department at work. We work at the same company, forgot to mention, and that he decided to apply per their suggestion. I didn't think anything of it. I'm like, cool, he's making friends at least, which he has trouble making. Not but 3 weeks ago, he up and left in the middle of the day. I work weekend overnights, so I'm usually sleeping and doesn't say a word. I wait about 5 hours for him to come home before I have to leave for my friend's birthday dinner. He sees me leave and asks me where I'm going, in which I tell him, and he proceeds to have a conversation with me without any mention of where he went. Later that night, I am getting ready to go to work after the dinner, and I ask him where he went. He said he was out with said female discussing PC parts because she needed help building a PC. He works in IT, so I didn't think anything of that either. Next day comes around, and he mentions before I go to work that he's going to play pickleball with some friends. His guy friends live about half an hour away, so he usually drives up there to see them, and he mentioned that's where he was going, so I thought he was going to hang out with his guy friends. Didn't think anything of it. Next day tells me that it was with female friend and her partner, mass female, kind of irrelevant here, but thought I'd mention. Monday comes around, and this is our first day off together in a hot minute, and my desire was to go eat at a hot pot place together, so I asked him if there was anything he planned on doing today. He stated he was going to drive up to see said female to finalize the PC part purchases. I, not thinking anything was amiss, asked if we could go to the hot pot place that was up there, kill two birds kind of suggestion, and he asked if it was okay for said female and her partner to come along. I said yeah, the more the merrier. Within the first 15 to 20 minutes of us sitting down, me meeting this female friend of his for the first time, I get this gut-wrenching feeling like I was third-wheeling. I don't say anything because it gaslit myself into thinking I was being psycho, crazy, jealous fiancé, and just needed to take a chill pill. Later, when we're about to leave, I promised my friend I would look after a cat for her. So I told her I would let her know when my fiancé and I would come back to have her drop off her cat. He said he still had things to do with said female friend and told me to go home without him and she'd give him a ride home. I'm like, sure, I don't want to keep my friend waiting, I suppose. 4 hours go by. My friend and I had been just chatting and letting our cats get used to each other, and it's finally midnight, and he comes home. Except she comes into the house too, because they weren't done deciding on parts for the PC. I let them do their thing. She finally leaves. His first ask, because he asked this earlier that day, that he wanted my opinion on her, and I said I don't feel comfortable with him being friends with her. He asks why, and we get into a conversation that kind of goes nowhere, and then he texts her how I feel about her. I'm tired at this point. I let it go again, equating it to me being crazy. I spent a whole week feeling like what I felt didn't get resolved, I didn't feel reassured, so I asked him that weekend if he'd be okay putting the friendship in the back burner until we figure out what's going on between us. He's not really listening, so I take off my ring. We get to a point where it seems like we had some sort of agreement on things. But then he asks if it was still okay if he went to a con with a friend and her partner, since he already made plans to do so and he hates flaking on people. I understand that and state it's fine, but I still feel hurt. We have now gotten to a point where we are now seeing a couples therapist. I'm certain I want to marry him, but it seems like his issue with me is he can't effectively communicate with me when he's upset about something, and now feels like his reasoning for wanting to marry me isn't the same as my reasoning for wanting to marry him. I can't marry someone who can't trust me to properly communicate with them. So AITA for asking him to not be this female's friend. He stated I was controlling him, and I'm not sure if I am or not. TLDR, fiancé made a female friend that he ended up spending a whole weekend hanging out with her, being vague about it, and someone I haven't met, and he's only known for a month. Finally met her and told him I feel uncomfortable with their friendship. Doesn't reassure me by going and telling her how I feel about her / them. And now he's calling me controlling because I asked him not to be friends with her. Story 9. So about a year ago, my neighbor moved out after living in the house next door for like 40 years, way before I was even born. She had this big, beautiful tree in the strip between the sidewalk and the street. I think it's called a parkway or something. The tree had grown around the power lines, so it leaned out a bit over the street, but it wasn't dangerous or anything. It just gave a ton of shade. You could fit a full-size truck or SUV under it and stay completely covered. Before she moved out, she told me she really hoped the new people would not take the tree down. It had been through storms and hurricanes, and she cared about it. I told her I agreed. I appreciated that tree too. I live on a main road, and I do not have a garage or a driveway. My only option is parking on the street. So the shade from that tree, especially in summer, really mattered. Anyway, the new neighbors move in. Big family, 6 people, 4 cars. They do have a garage and a driveway, but obviously those fill up pretty fast. So they start parking on the street too. Okay, fine. Then they cut down their tree. I would not have done it, but I kind of get why. There were big birds nesting in it, and their cars got absolutely wrecked with bird droppings. For some reason, the tree in front of my house never had that issue, but theirs definitely did. Here's the thing though. They cut it down at the tail end of fall, when it was already cool outside. So at first it was not a big deal. Even going into early summer, like May, it still was not super hot. But now we are at the tail end of June, heading into July, and it is getting seriously hot out. And for the last 2 weeks, I keep seeing one of their cars parked in front of my house under my tree. Not in front of their house, not in their driveway, right in front of mine, under the one shady spot that still exists close to them. Yes, there are other trees on the block. It is not like mine is the only tree on the street, but mine is the closest one to their house, which is probably why they keep choosing that spot. That is what really pushed me over the edge. Like, you had a tree. You cut it down. That was your choice. I did not know if it was the husband, the wife, or someone else in the house, but someone made that decision. And now that it is hot, suddenly you are parking where the shade still exists, right in front of my place. Look, I know it is not technically my tree. I did not plant it. It is on public land. But still, like, that is my tree. So after like 2 solid weeks of this, I left a note. I taped it to the tree one morning. I did not sign it, but let's be honest, it was obvious it came from me. The note just said, "If you want shade, plant a tree." My family said it was passive-aggressive. And yeah, maybe it was, but I did not cause a scene. I did not bang on their door or anything. I just got tired of being the one stuck in a burning hot car while they enjoyed the benefits of a tree they did not want to deal with. A few days later, I saw a note stapled to the tree. It said, "This is a public street. We can park where we want." And yeah, okay, technically they are right. But come on, you got rid of your shade. Now you're using mine and acting like that is totally fine? So read it. AITA for leaving the note. TLDR, my new neighbors cut down the big tree in front of their house because of bird poop. Now that it is late June and getting hot, they have started parking in front of my house under my shady tree, even though they have their own driveway, garage, and curb space. There are other trees on the block, but mine is the closest one to their house. After 2 weeks of this, I left a note that said, "If you want shade, plant a tree." AITAH, edit, Perhaps I should elaborate more on the specificity of what annoys me about this. Yes, it is a public street. I know this. I could do nothing to stop them from parking there. My issue comes from in the winter. There was no issue of this occurring because it was cold and there was snow. Now that the heat is coming when all of them park in the driveway, in their garage, and there's one person left over, they park in front of my front yard regardless of who is driving. So it's not like it's one person. It's the entire family. They have a spot in front of their house that they aren't using because there's no shade there. That is the only reason I can think of. Edit 2. Originally, there were 2 trees, one in my front yard, one in their front yard. Nothing was wrong with that tree. For 25 plus years, the second that they see birds, they chop down the tree. In the winter, this was fine. Now in the summer, they are parking in front of my house instead of next to their house when their house front yard is open. The only reason is the tree and shade. Edit 3. To everyone saying I'm the asshole, no hard feelings, really. I'm not mad. I'm just curious. Do you live in the city, the countryside, or the suburbs? I live in the suburbs, and I'm wondering if that might affect how people see this situation, who's in the right and who's in the wrong. For context, I don't live on a very large plot of land. My front yard is about 40 feet wide at most. I'm not sure if that changes anyone's perspective, but I thought it might be worth bringing up. Also, if I can find an application where I can draw out a map from my top down to show people what it looks like, then I would if anybody has any recommendations. Story 10. TW for SA/rape, physical abusive. The triggers probably make this sound worse than it's going to be, but here goes anyways. This might be a long one, so huge thank you to anyone who takes the time to read. IF18. Recently broke up with my ex-boyfriend, M18. It had been a long time coming, or at least I thought so anyways. We started having issues very early on because of how we both were mentally. I don't think we were really in a place to be in a relationship, but we were like 15, so we didn't really care. We tried to make it work. He had severe self-esteem issues and would often unload that onto me, often projecting what he wanted in himself onto me. He'd want me to wear clothes he wanted to wear, do makeup, and act a certain way simply because he couldn't. It was like he was living vicariously through me. He also wanted a lot of things from me that I physically couldn't give him. He wanted to be more masculine and dominant, which just wasn't me. I'm a shy, skinny girl. I couldn't do those things. It made me quite uncomfortable, so I attempted to bring it up with him, but it just always ended in arguments and him getting upset and nothing getting resolved. I ended up caving and trying to give him what he wanted. It ended with me being constantly mentally drained and feeling sick a lot. The majority of our arguments happened because he was terrible at communicating. He'd let things build up and then proceed to throw it all at me at once, and I just had to sit and take it. He'd often tell me I couldn't help him, and I'd get quite upset over being unable to help. I did push too much, I think. I was quite anxiously attached to him, so I'd really want to help him even though I knew I couldn't. I tried too hard, and that would just make him angry. After months of arguing and late nights of sobbing and screaming at each other, I finally got out of him what he needed when he was sad. Unfortunately, though, whenever I attempted to do those things, he asked me simply to be there for him and hold him. He'd still get upset and not want it, physically fighting me off of him. I was at my wit's end. I had no idea how to help him. He would want me to do something, but would refuse any of my attempts. I'd keep trying and trying to just be kind, but it would get so difficult, and I'd end up snapping at him. I got to a point where whenever he was sad, I'd just switch off mentally because it got too draining to even try anymore. I'd basically go on autopilot and wait for him to feel better and say whatever he wanted to me until he felt better. This led him to believing I didn't care. He'd tell me how he felt like I didn't care about him and how I got too angry too quickly. I didn't really know what to do anymore, but I think my brain developed a new defense mechanism because whenever he was sad, I'd just go numb, completely detached, and would say whatever I knew he wanted me to. It was really taxing on my mental health, as he'd also want to have sex immediately after or while he was sad. I really had no time to deal with how I felt about anything. It was really a lot at the time. During that time, I completely lost myself. I'd do whatever he asked, let him walk all over me. I'd let him pressure me into whatever, never thought about my feelings, never did anything I enjoyed, lost my friends, didn't spend time with my family. Just all him. I didn't know how to be myself. I even went on to a college course I had absolutely zero interest in that just wrecked my mental health further simply because he wanted me to be there. I ended up dropping out. Around this time, he also hit me for the first time. It was a quite difficult situation. He was hurting himself, so I gently touched his back and asked him to stop. I tried to hold his hand, but he hit me really hard there to get me off of him. It was really jarring. He'd always been quite violent with the things around him and himself, but never me. He'd throw things and punch walls, and he'd shout at me and get really close to me, but never actually hit me. He told me once he'd have to control his anger or he'd hurt me one day. That really stuck with me. He scared me. After a lot of struggle, I got him to sort of communicate with me. Things got a bit better. He hasn't hurt me physically or gotten close to it since then, so I was hoping it'd be a one-time thing. He was a very sensitive person. I'd try to be accommodating, but a lot of things I did, he'd end up getting upset about it. He relied on me for everything. I had to be his girlfriend, his mother, best friend, therapist, etc. He was very jealous and possessive also. I was similar at the beginning of our relationship, but I put in the work and overcame that. The girl I was jealous of him, actually good friends with now, even. Things got a bit better for a few months. About a year ago, he raped me while we were on vacation together with my family. Since then, everything has been a bit tainted by his actions of that day. He pressured me into it. I said no multiple times. I never actually said yes either. It was a lot. That whole week of us being away was a lot. We argued every night, and it made the whole trip a struggle. I was really just in shock about what he'd done to me, so I had absolutely no idea what to do with myself or how to handle the situation. Somewhere in me, though, I still loved him, and I thought maybe if I stayed, I could forget he did that, and everything would be fine. He got kinder after that, less aggressive with me. He'd try and communicate. It wasn't really good, but it was better. I loved him, so I really wanted to try. I spent all the time between then and now trying to forget about it and move on, but I just couldn't. I was so scared of him. If he'd do it again, if he'd hurt me again. I never felt so unloved and hurt than I did when he did that to me. It played in my mind a lot whenever we'd have sex. It was difficult for a while. I ended up having issues with my cervix, and I wasn't able to have sex, and it made me feel so much more stressed because I wasn't worried he'd do it again, because I was saying no and physically couldn't have sex with him at the time. About 2 months ago, we had a threesome with my best friend, F18. It was initially my ex's idea, but me and my best friend weren't opposed. We were okay with whatever. She's trans and wasn't comfortable showing her body, and I have an eating disorder and wasn't comfortable either. We decided we'd just do stuff for him mainly, but me and her would kiss and do some over-the-clothes stuff. Even though my ex wanted it most, he hated the whole thing. He lied, though, and said he wanted it just so we'd do stuff for him, but when it came to me and her, he'd get upset. It was a very mentally draining couple of months. Details aren't really needed on much of that, just that he ended up getting incredibly jealous and depressed over the whole situation despite all my attempts to get him to open up. He refused to and exploded on me one day and kind of blamed me for the fact he lied. Even though I tried every 5 minutes to understand what he was feeling, and I'd ask him constantly if he was okay, he was just having none of it. I was very depressed, and all my feelings on the fact he raped me and was still dragging my feelings around. And then on top of that, he kind of lied to me and my friend just to get us to have sex with him. It all just kind of hurt, and it was getting too much to stay in a relationship with him. During all this, I was also slowly realizing I don't think I like men, which did not help with the whole situation at all. Loudly crying face, I brought things up with him, and we had a very messy breakup. We had a break for a week, got back together, broke up a few days shut that, got back together a day later, but it just hurt too much. Tried to break up with him again by explaining my feelings, but he just started trying to hurt himself again. So I tried to stop him. He hit me instead, so I just immediately got him out of my room, and that's when I decided it really had to be over. I was really scared of what he'd do to me, so I called my best friend over at 3 a.m. so he wouldn't be able to do anything to me again. Okay, now officially on to what I'm asking in this post. When he broke up, I told him we could maybe be friends in the future, but he ended up taking that as friends immediately and kept trying to message me. I told him that it was getting too much and that I'd like him to message me less. He stopped messaging me completely and blocked me, so I blocked him back. End of that. A week later, he messaged me on a different platform I hadn't realized he could still contact me on, asking how I'd been. I don't really know what I was thinking, but I just told him I was fine and asked why he was asking. He said no reason, just we hadn't talked for a week and was curious. I didn't want to be mean to him. I told him I was fine, but that I think it's best if we don't talk because it won't be good for either of us. He asked why, and I just simply explained that it was too much to talk that much, and that normally so quickly I still needed time, and he needed time too. He noticed I had mentioned something ABT being gay on my Instagram story. He ended up telling me straight up that he thinks I'm bi and was very adamantly ignoring all my explanations of my feelings. I was getting quite frustrated and very bluntly explained how I felt in hopes he'd understand. He seemed to get it a bit more in. He also seemed happier knowing that there wasn't much he could do to save our relationship. Relief, I suppose. Anyways, we seemed to be on the same page, but he started trying to be super friendly. I kept my replies short and sweet and let him know I wouldn't be talking to him a lot and I wasn't ready to be friends. He said okay, but continued to talk. I ignored him and fell asleep and woke up to a message of him asking if he could talk about how he was feeling. I didn't know where this was going, but I asked him in what way. He has issues with a mother that he's only told me. I thought if it wasn't to do with our situation, then maybe I could just listen. He said he wanted to talk about how he'd been feeling recently. I told him I don't think that's a good idea, and he asked me why. So I said how I can't be the one to help him through this if we're both trying to move on. I can't help him move on from me, and I need to focus on myself, and I can't do that when focusing on him. He said he didn't want my focus on him and that I know him best, and that he has no one else. I told him I can't, and he kept pushing, and I just straight up said no because I was tired of explaining. He then started saying how I apparently wasn't explaining and was just saying no for no reason, which just really confused me. I did explain again, and he dropped it and said he'd leave me alone. 20 minutes later, he sent me a long paragraph. He started with, "Can you please be more gentle with me?" To summarize his point, he was saying I was being too defensive and overly harsh, and he wanted me to be more gentle and kind, and he was upset that we can't talk things through anymore, and he just wanted an explanation. I told him I don't want to be mean, but I can't cater to his needs anymore and that we aren't in a relationship. We can't be there for each other right now. I explained how it felt really painful whenever he'd talk to me, and I'd get stressed, and that I was calmer without him, and I didn't want to keep hurting anymore. I said I don't think I owe him kindness. He can have kindness, just not from me right now. I didn't want to be mean, but I couldn't sugarcoat either. I explained myself simply. He ended up spamming me about how everything happened too quickly for him, and that it wasn't fair that I get to be happy, and that he lost everything and didn't have anyone, and that everything hurt, and how he has to do the hardest thing ever by not speaking to me, and he has to pretend he's fine just so I can be happy. He started getting a bit mixed with him words and spamming me, and just ended it all with goodbye. I had no idea what to say. I didn't want to make things worse. I blocked him after the goodbye. I thought maybe he just needed to get everything out. I was getting stressed and just couldn't take the spam messages anymore. About 2 hours later, he messaged me on a different platform again, saying that I never loved him. I was tired and angry and stressed and reacted very badly, saying how I stayed with him after he raped me, because I loved him and he had no right to sit and tell me that I never loved him when I suffered through all that just because I loved him. He said he was ready to do anything for me and make my life perfect, and that he understood that what he did was unforgivable. But he said I was being mean and that everything I was doing to him right now hurt more than anything, and that all I'm doing is trying to break him down, and that I didn't have to hurt him because I'm going through something. I said, "You raped me, what about that isn't getting through to you?" He said that he wasn't saying he didn't do that, just that he never wanted to hurt me and that he loved me, and now he doesn't get time to adjust without me. He kept going on about how I didn't have to do this to him and that I was hurting him more than anything. So I asked what exactly I did, and he said that I left him too quickly, didn't give him enough time, felt more loved by my friend, that she came over on the last day. He had to say goodbye to me. He was talking about the time he hit me, and I called her over, saying how I left him with nothing, and I have everything, and he only had a few days to get used to not having me anymore. That I said he didn't deserve anything, that he didn't deserve kindness or someone to be nice to him. I've told him multiple times that he deserves kindness, just not from me, that he has friends to go to, and he just simply needs to reach out. I told him that he doesn't deserve kindness from me, and he asked me why, and I just couldn't deal anymore. I said because he raped me, and he started spiraling and apologizing and saying he deserved all the pain. I couldn't do anything and got him to call helpline, but he kept asking me for help, so I told him he'd have to call the helpline or I'd block him. He said okay and called but continued to spam me, so I had to block him. I feel like maybe I was too harsh. I don't know anymore. I'm just so upset and angry, and I don't know what to do about how guilty I feel about how I acted towards him. Was I too mean? Should I have been kinder? That's it for today's creepy Reddit tales. Before we go, I just want to say a quick thanks to all of you for watching, liking, and sticking around. You guys keep this channel going, and I'll be back soon with more stories that'll make your skin crawl. Drop a comment if you've got your own spooky tale to share, and I'll see you in the next one.